recording. Well, good morning, everybody. This is a devotional for the 24th of April, and we're taking it from my utmost for his highest. And today he looked at the verse of Luke 10:20. Notwithstanding in this, rejoice not that the spirits are subject to you. And that verse goes on to say, but that your name is written in heaven. He points out that if we're not careful, we'll get caught up in the commercial or the numerical version of spiritual success. Jesus was telling these disciples, the 72 that had been sent out, that their goal wasn't just to free people, but in fact that they should be rejoicing in the fact that they had a relationship with God. As a pastor, we're getting towards the end of the Nazarene fiscal year, and we'll turn in what's called our annual pastor's report. That annual pastor's report has numbers. And there'll be numbers such as how many funds were raised, how many baptisms, how many attended church, how many were in Sunday school, and all these kind of things. And one of the things, if we're not careful as a pastor, is that we'll get caught up in the spiritual commercialism. That those will be the numbers that we draw our success, our feelings of success from, instead of being focused on growing people and getting them to grow up to be disciples, true followers of Jesus. Not just somebody who came and was spiritually awakened, but somebody that was actually growing and able to live a sanctified life, a life that is pleasing to God. He goes on to say that God has more value with 100 than 100 lives. Excuse me, I'll read that. One wholly devoted to God is more valuable to God than 100 lives simply awakened by his Spirit. And, it's true. The church may have 1,000 people in it, but if only 5 or 10 of them are truly serving God, if they simply come to a church service and have their ears tickled, that's wonderfully disappointing to God. A small community of people that are truly dedicated to doing what God has called them to do can make a major difference. Remember, the disciples were 12, but they were fully dedicated. And when the Pentecost came, they were prepared. They had been in prayer, and they reached out, and before they finished, there was 3,000 that had come to be baptized. Over and over and over again, the church is tempted each season to measure the success of a church based on what he calls in this devotional the commercial vision. When you're a Sunday school teacher, when you are a youth group leader, when you are anybody who is in leadership, it is hard not to be seduced into measuring your success for God by the numbers. Numbers matter because people matter, but people matter more than the numbers. If we're building into the life of one or two individuals, or if you are discipling to somebody, then you are in a position of bringing glory to God. Too often, if we're not careful, we'll look for the numbers rather than the people actually growing. Oh, I have 500 people. How many of them are truly serving God? How many of them are serving God with a whole heart and with an honest heart? That's the question. And it starts with you. What is your heart? If your heart is tuned up. See, Jesus never ruled as a dictator. He said, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. If you love me. And there's a lot of those kind of things. Jesus in John 14 says that. If you love me. It isn't that he comes in as a commander, which he could have. He comes in and says, I want your heart. I want your willing obedience. And as pastors and as leaders in the church, we need to be doing it too. So if you're in a church that has you doing things by demand, I ask you to stop and ask yourself, is that the way Jesus leads? So I leave you with that, and I say, have a good day and stay safe.